Hello there, Imef here, and I'm back with some more Computercraft. Today I'll continue making Minesweeper by making the function update, and let's get started right away. Now, first thing we want to do in the function is to check the event, and we want it to be mouse click. So if e is equal to mouse click, and a1 is equal to 1, so if that means basically if A1 is 1, that means you clicked on the left button, I think. Yes. And it's if. I have to write not id. Then, once that is done, we want to declare a few local variables. So local x, y. X will take the value of a2 minus off. So let's do that. X is equal to a2 minus off. That means basically that x and y will take the value of a2 and a3 minus the offset, and the offset is, or has the value of 2. So that's just to take into account that there's a slight, well, the grid isn't exactly aligned with the screen. That's just to take that into account. Then we want to check what is the actual position on the grid. So if grid position yx, like that, is equal to u. So that means there is a mine there, but you have not checked it yet. That means if there's an unchecked mine, then what we want to do is basically return true, and that basically means you lost. It's the end of the game. And if you have a look at the end, well, the main loop of the code, if update is equal to true, it will basically end the game. That's the thing. So else end like that. Now there's the interesting part, because that's the kind of a hard part. Actually, it's else if I want to do. Else if grid position yx still is equal to just a space like that, then we're going to declare a new variable, local count, which will be initialized to 0. So yes, if it's an empty space, basically, that just means that it's a place with no mine and it has not been checked yet. So if it's that case, then what will happen is that it will count all around the space to determine the number of mines which are nearby, and that will determine what will be displayed at this specific position. If there's nothing, it will check if the number of mines nearby is 0, it will check in the positions nearby this specific position, if that makes sense. And yeah, so count will actually be used to count the number of mines and all. Now then, we're going to do two loops. For j equal -1, 1, do for I equal -1, 1, do, and there we're going to check basically if there's a mine at the specific position we're looking for. Well, if there's a mine around the position we're checking. So if I is not equal to 0, or j is not equal to 0, and I forgot a little detail, there we go, then and that basically means that if you're not clicking in the center position, so if you're not clicking, if that's, it will basically check all around the mine, but not I keep getting confused, but yeah, it will check all around where you clicked and not where you click specifically. That's why you want I and j to be different from 0. Well, I or j to be different from 0. And then what do we do? Another if. If x plus I is greater than 0 and x plus I is lower than w plus 1. So all I'm going to do is check what the position you're checking after is actually within the grid, so the value cannot be 0 or it cannot be greater than W. So we have to check on X and Y. So Y plus J is greater than 0, and finally Y plus J is lower than H plus 1. Then we can do N here. Yet again another if grid of position of position Y plus J and X plus I. So it's basically checking the position around the where you clicked. If this position is equal to U, so it's an unchecked mine, then count will be incremented by 1. So that means there we add 1 mine to the counter. So count is equal to count plus 1. There we go. So I think that's the main. Oh, dang it. Let's see. There are so many ends there. What? Okay, that should be the right position. Okay, and now we have to react accordingly to the according to the number of mines. So, first thing we want to do is actually indicate that the grid position YX has a specific number. So, what we're going to do is grid of position YX is equal to 2 string of count. There you go. Because we want it to be a string. We don't want the grid, or the position of the grid to be a number. We want it to be a string. And finally, last thing we want to do is to if the position, or if the count is 0, so if there are no mines nearby, it will update the positions which are around the where you clicked. And basically what we're going to use is a recursion. So basically we're going to use the function update inside update. You'll see what I mean in just a sec. So if count is equal to 0, then just 4 more lines to write, bear with me. If x is greater than 1, then update position, E, A1, A2, minus 1, A3, end. So basically we're using update, but to check the position, but with x minus 1. And we're going to do the same thing with x plus 1, y minus 1, and x, and y plus 1, yes. So if x is lower than w, then update again, E, A1, A2, plus 1, A3. And basically we're checking to the right of where you clicked at this time. Now we're going to see at the top and the bottom of the position. So if y is greater than 1, then update E, A1, A2, A3 minus 1, and there we're checking at the top of where you clicked. And finally we're checking the bottom, so if y is lower than h, then update E, A1, A2, and A3 plus 1. And so that's all there is to do for the function update. Now that that's done, basically the game pretty much works, but there's one last little detail we have to take care about, which is when it's the end of the game. So what we are going to, when you have actually won, so what we're going to do is add one extra little function, local function, and what we're gonna do is call the function checkEnd. There you go. And this is gonna be very easy. It's basically we're going to check the whole grid and count the number of mines. If the number, count the number of unchecked positions would have no mines. So you count the number of of spaces basically in the grid, and if it's equal to 0, that means you checked everywhere besides on the mines. That means you won. So for j equal to 1 h do and for I equal 1 w do and actually I forgot one little detail. We actually have to add one local variable, local count, which will be equal to 0, and if grid of position ji is equal to a space like that, then you have to increment count. So that means there's still one position you haven't checked, which does not have a mine. So count is equal to count plus 1. There you go. And finally, we have to return true or false, depending on whether it's the end or not. So if count is equal to 0, then that means you won. Otherwise, that means you lost. Well, you haven't won, rather. So return false, and if you won, it will return true. That's it. So now we have to just add this function inside of this place, and let's do or if update everything or checkEnd, then counts false. So if you lost or you won, that means it's the end of the loop, end of the game, everything. That's it. So let's save also this and let's test that for just to see. So ms, as you can see, it's revealing the map as it should. So that's pretty cool. And let's see if I can actually win. No, I lost. Never mind. But let me give you a detail of when you win. So what we're going to do is edit ms and change the number of mines to, how about 2? Save, exit, ms, and as you can see there are 2 mines, one here and one there, and since I discovered every single one of them, it will end the game. So it seems to work now. Let's set that back to 10 though. Now the game is pretty much finished now, but there's one last thing two last things we need to do. First thing is indicate properly when you win or when you lose. So if you win, it will display a message saying you won. If you lose, it will say, oh boo, you lost, you're terrible. And the second thing is do a proper menu for the beginning. So this is what I'm going to do next time. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please take the time to like, comment, subscribe. If you have any ideas of games, whatever goes to your mind, let me know in the comment section. And since this is the end, I'll be saying goodbye and see you next time.